Hey sports fans, welcome to another edition of the San Diego High School I'm just going to call it the premier water polo podcast in America. Eastern Europe does it big, so not going to claim the world yet, but we're coming for it.
We're getting there.
I'm Christian Pedersen. This is the man that makes all the magic happen, Mr. Coach Tom Atwell. All right, Coach. I ask you to do a yeoman's work on separating yourself from some losses and coming here to talk still. Just want to hit it again like it's a broken record. Western League this year has just made the Open Division playoffs crazy confusing.
It's going to be wide open at this point.
So you guys have now split with Coronado after yesterday's game. Bishops loses to, I should say that Cathedral beats Bishops. We don't focus on the losses, we celebrate the wins. You still have games against Vista and Carlsbad and Cathedral Catholic, and University City is a team that is squarely in last place, but is also probably got the strength of schedule to be a D1. It's too confusing and convoluted right now to specifically say if the playoffs started today, here's what I'm looking at. But just give me, starting with you guys, Bishops, just the Western League, give me a couple of scenarios as to how this could play out over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think right now, if you had to make a decision of ranking them, Vista has to be number one at this point until someone in Western League beats them. With Carlsbad beating Bishops, now Carlsbad's in the mix, and that Carlsbad-Vista matchup is going to be real key towards the end of the season. And then Coronado, they beat us in sudden death the third overtime period yesterday, so they're right there at 1-2, or 3. And then, between us, Cathedral, Bishops, that third, fourth, fifth, it's wide open. I mean, it's going to be really hard to make a decision, unless someone wins out or something significant happens in the last 3 weeks.
And then on the fringe of that, Poway has looked actually impressive this season. And then you kind of always have that somebody between Grossmont and Valhalla is going to fill in that 7 or that 8 spot. Can that all immediately switch? Like, I feel like we're talking about the difference between 1 and 6 is so close that 1 week we could be Vista's first, the next week we could be Vista's 6th.
Absolutely. The parity right now in the Open Division between the top 6 teams, it will switch game to game, week to week, tournament to tournament. We go up to a tournament next weekend, and everything could change after that tournament. So I really think that until this thing plays itself out that last week of the season, we're not really going to know who's number 1 through 6.
So let's do this. Let's take a second, because we talked about this a bunch last year with the guys and the girls. The concept of Open Division and strength of schedule is something that CIF has created as a cookie cutter, fits all sports, no leeway really. Water polo does have a little bit of a selection committee to kind of quality control everything, but you mentioned before we started filming, games yet to come, but also games that have happened are retroactively, the value is getting changed.
Right.
So in a year where specifically we've got so much happening that's just so convoluted, do you think this is reflecting well on the scoring system, or do you think this is sort of just adding way too much confusion that you splitting with Coronado retroactively hurts a Bishop's win over Coronado, and round and round we go?
Yeah, I think that there is some truth to that because of the way the power rankings work, it helps define some of that in some cases, but I think what CIF has done for water polo specifically by allowing the selection committee to take a look, because we play more than a third of our games, the top 6 teams play more than a third of their games from outside of the area, and it's hard to put a value on each of those teams that you play outside the area, point value. So now we can kind of say, okay, well, let's go head-to-head matchups and let things sort themselves out. And I think the one good thing we have going for us is that almost everybody will have a chance to play each other, barring 1 or 2 matchups out of the top 6. Everyone will have seen each other or have a common opponent enough that we'll be able to differentiate who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However, we won't be able to do that until after the last Friday of the regular season, because everyone's got to play each other. Until we play Carlsbad on Friday of the last day of the season, until we play Vista that same week.
Oh man!
You know, until the other 5 teams finish out their seasons, we won't know.
I mean, it just. I've been in the room when football has decided their open division, and I've seen coaches ready to punch a hole in the wall over being slighted. I cannot even imagine wanting to be within a mile of the building right now, trying to decide 1 through 8 in the open division this year.
And the interesting thing is that, you know, like Coach Spence of Vista is on the selection committee with myself and Ernie Medina from down in the South Bay, and then Ken Houston of Valhalla. So, but having Coach Spence there, who's a probable, you know, likely could be number 1. It's a great voice in the room, but I can see that, you know, he and I have almost always agreed on the top 6, but I can see this could be the first year where we might have some disagreements on how 4, 5, 6 play themselves out of who sits where. So it will be very interesting.
We might have to televise that cage match live.
I got my money on Spence on that, but he outweighs me by a few pounds.
No, it's just, it's really, to me, it's an interesting thing, and I don't have to go into long about it, but with this being the beginning of a new era, with we'll call it state playoffs, because it is expanded beyond what has ever existed before.
Right.
Is we're just, everything is under an inflamed microscope of, is this the right team to represent San Diego? Not just, is this the right team to be the 6 or the 4 or the 2. So as we get closer and closer to this end, we'll start talking a little bit more about what the actual live, you know, what this is looking like. But it's just really interesting that, you know, the last couple years we've had, all right, that's 1, 2, 3, and then there's competition for everything else. This year it just put all the names in a blender and sort of figure them out. And you know, it's kind of, let's take a step to some of the other divisions. It's kind of looking complicated elsewhere.
Well, I think about, you know, that's interesting because we talk about the open division, and whoever fills out those last 2 spots, whether it be, you know, Poway and Grossmont or UC, or who fills out that other team that's left out of that mix, I'd say is going to be a lock to win Division 1.
Well, absolutely.
You know, I think if UC ends up in the Division 1, they're going to run over everybody. So.
That would be the heartwarming story of the season, is that UC, after just taking it in the teeth here in Western League for a couple of years, finally gets their chance to rattle one off. They've come close. They're definitely one of the programs that is on the rise.
Right.
And I will use that to seamlessly transition into our other shout-outs about another program that is on the rise, San Diego. We've talked about them off and on. They are a high-scoring team, so they put up big numbers, and that gets attention. You can make this, that, and the other arguments about their D3, and okay, that's nice, but let's talk about the real state contenders now that they've moved up into D2. Well, last night they beat LCC 10-2, and that's not got a good call, got an exclusion, ball bounced in. That's domination. That's turned some heads. Maybe we're talking about the way that this year Canyon Crest is starting to flirt with competing with some open division boys, that you can see the writing on the wall that San Diego's making those moves. Want to give also a shout out, Scripps Ranch, we haven't talked about them a whole bunch, your former digs, little known, that was the first stop in your coaching career. They got a big win over Del Norte to move themselves over 500 in league and put themselves on that periphery. Just so you know, the Snapchat game is blowing up behind us. And Atwell's staying stone-faced.
I got it.
He's got it on lock. Another shout out, Coach Medina down at Hilltop. I know that he's a longtime supporter of the the water polo community. They put up a 20 spot on OTI.
Yeah, Coach Medina does an amazing job with the pool space he's given, and the athletes he's given.
When you're splitting a pool with 4 other schools.
Yeah, he does amazing work, and his own kids have gone on to do great things. His daughter played at UC Irvine, so he has some great lineage there and a great tradition of water polo. It's great to see him, his team doing well.
And I don't care who you are or what you're playing. How many did you guys put up on the La Jolla High School football team?
I can't remember. 27?
Okay, so exactly. So one of the best teams in the state put up 27 on a football team. Hilltop puts a 20 on an actual water polo team.
Right.
So anytime you're able to do that, that always deserves a little bit of an attention and shout out. Coach, who do you got this week still?
So we play UC tomorrow.
Ooh, that's a big one.
And then the following week we have Cathedral, and then we go up to Orange County and we play in the Villa Park tournament.
All right. Well, we will be here for all of that. Only like 3 more weeks of the season, something like that.
That's it.
So we will be back next week to actually start talking playoff brackets and seeing how that all breaks down. Until then, go watch a game. There's tons of good water polo here in San Diego.
Absolutely.